Shalom. I would like to talk today about something called nisyonos, challenges. Everybody has challenges in life. How to cope with challenges, or rather, why do we have challenges? What is the gain and what is the interest we have in how to cope with challenges of life? Reb Dessler says a very beautiful line, and he says, the past is memories. The future is binyamin. What we dream about, what will maybe happen, what we'd like to happen. And the hoiver, the today, that's nisyonos. So Mamela, we have to think about, let's focus on the hoiver. Let's focus on this word called nisyonos. Why, bechlal, do we have to have something called nisyonos? Well, one of the reasons is, if a person has a nisyon, we do daven, al tivienu lo lidei nisyon, v'lo lidei bizoyon. Hashem, please don't give us a nisyon which will later lead to a bizoyon. But if we have a nisyon which we're able to cope with, then that lifts us. That shows us how much power we really do have. Nobody is allowed to daven, to pray to Hashem, please give me a nisyon, please give me a challenge. But the challenges don't have to be great difficulties. The challenges could be just how to go through life in a calm manner. But when Hashem sends a nisyon to a person, this enables a person to lift up himself and to prove to himself that he has koiches, he has power inside him. Nisoyon is loshen nes. Nes is a word of a flag. A flag is something lisnoises. You lift up the flag. You lift up the flag to a height. And nisoyon lifts up a person, and it shows him, he himself sees in himself what power he actually does have, what koiches lies within him which he can use, which not necessarily does he actually know about before the nisoyon comes about. Another reason for nisoyon. This is the Tana de Be'Eliyahu says, Avraham Avinu, when he made the covenant with Avimelech, the Malachim came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, with Avram, who made a covenant with a goy, with Avimelech, that's the one who you chose. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you chose Avram Avinu. What's special Avram Avinu? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you'll see that I can ask him to offer up his only son, which was born to him when he was 100, and he'll go and do that. Sometimes the nisyonon is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is able to say to the Malachim, look at my children, look what they can do, look to what heights they can reach. That is a nisyonon which comes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings a nisyonon to a person, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can show to his Malachim, these are my children, these are my Am Segula. The Yetzer Hara comes to a person before he does a mitzvah and says, nah, there's not such a mitzvah. As soon as he does a mitzvah, the Yetzer Hara comes and tells him, yeah, you did a mitzvah, but you had other reasons why you did it. For Hol says, Soten milfanenu ma'acharenu. We daven to Hashem, please, don't let the Satan disturb us before we do the mitzvah. And don't let the Satan disturb us after we do the mitzvah. If a person is with his mind is the ikar, the main focus, how you focus on things. That's the important. A person can do a mitzvah, and chas v'sholom, he can have charota, he can have regret on the mitzvah he does. He can lose a lot from that. On the other hand, a person who did a mitzvah, and he holds with what he did, that mitzvah stays with him. It's a state of mind. A person has to realize, I did a mitzvah, I'm going to do a mitzvah, I have the capabilities of doing what Hashem asked me to do. What I'm saying is, it's a question of where a person puts his mind, and you are in charge of your mind. The story of the Satmar Rebbe, just to show this point a bit. There's a story that a man came into his office and started weeping and crying and telling him he has such sorrows, his family, members of his family are ill, he has no money. And the Satmar Rebbe's heart went out to him, and he cleared the whole table and gave him all the money he had on the table. And the man left. The Gabba came in straight after that person left, and he said, Rebbe, this person is a swindler. He's a known Ramai. The Rebbe gave him money, but you should know, he's not worth one. All the stories he told you are all made up stories. The Rebbe smiled. He said, Baruch Hashem. So the Gabba said, why Baruch Hashem? I was so upset to hear those stories. At least you're telling me that they're not true. Wow, I'm feeling better. What was the Satmar Rebbe doing over here? He was joined to that tsar that he had, and now that tsar's gone away. His whole mind could have been, wow, all that money I gave, it's gone to a swindler, it's gone to a Ramai. His mind was focused, well focused. I had tsar of hearing a fellow Jew has got pain, and now I've been told it's not true. I'm feeling better. That's the state of mind. A person has to be and can be in control of situations according to the way his mind works and where he wants to put his mind. This is a bit of a high point. And I don't say that we're holding at this point at all. But I read once that a nisoyan is a point where a person can come to day simcha. And the story was told of a person, a Jew, who saw Lo Aleinu Nebuch, he saw his house burning down and everything he belonged, everything, all his belongings. And he stood there and he said, with a bracha, Shaloi Osani Goy. So people around him asked him, why, you forgot to say that bracha this morning? So he said, no. A goy, if all his belongings get burnt, it's his avodah zarah and his whole connection is all gone. My connection is connection with Hashem. I've still got Hashem. Hashem is with me. So my house burnt down, or b'shaloi sani goy, I have still got the HaKadosh Baruch Hu who's looking after me and will still worry for me. Obviously, like I said, this is a very high level. Oh, but it's a nisoyan. It is a nisoyan which a person has put his mind in the right direction. Nobody, like I said, nobody is allowed to, and nobody wants to daven for that he should have nisoyanis, and he should have pain. The Gemara says that even to put your hand in your pocket and to take out the wrong coin is also called isurim. You go down the wrong road, it's also isurim. You get on the wrong bus, the bus doesn't come, the taxi doesn't arrive. Small things. How do we take it? How do we look at it? Where's our mind? And this is a very important point, because a person can be lifted, or a person can just break under and just not gain anything from something that happened. And there should be never anything worse than that. Obviously, when we talk about nisyonos, a person has to be careful not to bring himself into a situation where he's going to have a challenge which he's not going to be able to cope with. You're not even allowed to bring yourself into a situation of a challenge which you think you will be able to cope with. Of course, not with a challenge which you won't be able to cope with. No, I'll manage, it'll be okay. You're not allowed to. It's awesome. It's like the zoo that were looking to add a few monkeys to their cage of monkeys. So to try and trap a monkey in the jungle is quite a difficult thing to do. But there's a situation where what they do is they hang on the tree a narrow vessel, keli, which hangs on the tree. It's narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. And in the bottom of this keli, they put rice. And monkeys seemingly love rice. The monkey puts his hand into the keli and takes a fistful of rice in his hand. But when his fist is closed, he can't get it out from the top of the keli. What he really should do is leave go, and his hand will come in like his hand went in. His hand would go out like his hand went in. But he's holding on to this rice, and he can't get loose, and he can't, and that's how they are actually able to catch the monkey. So the monkey's sitting there, holding the rice, crying away, crying. Why are you crying? You created the situation. Let go, and you can run away. If we create situations of nisoyon where we could have steered clear of them, there we have to be careful. A nisoyon is not something we have to look for, and it's not something we have to pray for. Now, the story is told in the Medrash about a man who was cutting his tavua in the field, and suddenly he jumped up with joy and he said to his son, "Go to the Beis Hamikdash and bring a korban for me." So his son said, "Simcha Mazel Oisa, what's this happiness about? Why are you asking me to bring a korban?" So he said, "Shikcha, to forget bundles of tavua, or to forget parts of the chitim which fall, leket shikcha opea. That only happens if you forget. If you leave it for oni, and you know beforehand, that's not called leket. That's not called shikcha. You have to forget. How do you forget? If Hashem makes it that you forget, that's a special present from Hashem. The fact that Hashem made me forget leket shikcha opea, and I'm able to do that mitzvah, I thank Hashem, and I ask you to bring a korban just for that. In other words, we're not in charge. But if we see, as far as nisyonos are concerned, and I'm not talking about big nisyonos, even small ones, if we see that we have difficulties and we cope with them and we build ourselves from them, we can know that Hashem is looking at us, and Hashem wants to build us up, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to help us to grow. Avraham Avinu, he was called Avraham Oihavi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu referred to Avraham that Avraham loves Hashem. When did that title come? That title came after the Akedah. After he managed to bring his son, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the end said, don't offer him up as a korban. But Avraham stood there and was able to bring the korban, was able to do the Akedah in a proper way. That is Avi. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Avraham, you love Hashem. Maybe a way to help us to understand what a nisoyon could be. Whatever the nisoyon could be, a situation, if we know that that situation was created by a malach called the Yetzer Hara. When Yaakov fought with the Sarah Shel Esau and Yaakov won the fight, the malach said, let me go and let me go back to Hashem and say Shira, because I did my job. What was my job? My job was to create a situation of a nisoyon, and that Yaakov should overcome that nisoyon. Whenever we're faced with a nisoyon, we have to understand, and it can help us to understand, that this nisoyon is a malach who is creating it for us, and he wants us really to, it's a malach, the Yetzer Hara is a malach. He wants us to see this situation and to overcome this nisoyon. If we overcome it, that malach goes up, and that malach goes and says, Shira to Hashem. It's a different idea, a different way of looking at any nisoyon, any situation where we are moved, or the Yetzer Hara wants to move us. Just know it's all really just a show. And this show is only for us to say, yes, this is the Yetzer Hara, I'm going right, let the Yetzer Hara go left, and then the malach gets his shira. Just one more point. A king said about one of his servants that he, the king, loves this servant. That's a very nice compliment to the servant. But what would be if the melech would say, you know what's special? Special is that that servant loves me. What does that mean? It's important to the melech, it's important to the king that this servant loves him. What does Hashem say? After Avraham overcome the Akedah and was matzliach, and from that we have lived and will live on that schus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Avraham, Oy Havi, Avraham loves me, Hashem. What a beautiful thing to think about. If a person is able to stand against nisoyon, and again I say, we have to daven, al tevyeinu l'dei nisoyon. We have to daven to Hashem that we shouldn't have nisyonis, that we shouldn't have any nisyonis. But when we come to the crossroad of a situation where it didn't actually go exactly the way we thought, let's think, what does Hashem want us to do? Do the right thing, and Hashem will help us to have a good life and hatzlacha in whatever we do. Thank you.